You're quite well known for playing pranks on people. What's the best prank you've pulled off on someone, or someone has played on you?
Oh, that's a good one.
Hey everyone, my name is Suds.
And I'm Sabrina.
Welcome to Zero Calorie Marketing. Today we're joined by Susie, the Managing Director of esbconnect.
We learn a bit about how Susie has eaten a couple of bugs.
How, although she trained to be a lawyer, she ended up becoming founder of a tech company.
We've also found out that Susie is obsessed with gym. She just so happens to be a spin instructor.
And also what she learned by going to a Tony Robbins seminar.
Let's begin.
The idea is to talk with digital marketing folks and really get an understanding of how they see the world of digital, and also get to know you, your company, and what motivates you to do what you do. So joined today on our inaugural Zero Calorie Marketing podcast is Sabrina Jewell, who's our
Marketing exec.
and Suzanna Chaplin,
Our guest.
yeah. Who is we're going to get to that. And also Dexter, the dachshund.
Oh, yes, Dexter's here.
He's now passed out.
Oh.
So, if there's any strange noises in the background, it's Dexter just playing with his toy.
Okay,
So firstly, go for it.
let's start with some personal questions just to get a feel of who you are and what you're all about. So, who is Susie Chaplin and what do you do?
What do I do? Well, I'm a spammer. No, not really. So we do customer acquisition for brands, predominantly through email marketing. So not CRM, so not customer retention. We basically have a large database of consumer emails, and we work with consumer brands and businesses to acquire them new customers through email marketing.
Sure.
Yep. So you studied law at university. How did you end up working in digital marketing?
Interestingly enough, so I always wanted to be a barrister. That was from quite a young age. Was like, okay, right, I'm going to go into law, be a criminal lawyer, do defence law. Interestingly enough, so did lots and lots of pupilages, and was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Then finished university and had a master's in international law at LSC, I think it was. And then when I came out to uni, decided to take a gap year and go travelling with two of my friends. And in between going travelling, worked with my dad for a year in his performance agency to save up. And that was in the digital world, and I was like, oh, this is quite a fun industry, like there's a lot going on. And it was when the affiliate industry had just started, so like voucher codes had just come big, so it was a really young industry. Like everyone in the industry was probably like no older than like 26, 27, so there was a lot of boozing. It was also like every single week was like events, like going out. So it was a really, really fun industry. So worked in that for a year, then went travelling for 6 months with two of my friends. And I was like, getting back from travelling, had earned quite well, made quite a good name for myself in that industry. And then coming back from travelling, I was like, right, go back and do my master's. And I was like, okay, so it's like 20 grand minimum of debt I'm going to go back into. Actually, do I go back into this quite interesting, fun career that I know a lot of people in it, have got a good base of contacts now, and quite enjoy it, or do I go and make more debt? And I kind of felt like I could always go back into law if I wanted to. I already had the law degree. I had like the ability to defer my master's for another year, so I decided to defer my master's, and then I just ended up going back into digital and then staying in digital, and that's how I ended up here.
So well, one of the questions is, would you ever go back into like law? That was one of the questions,
Yeah.
like in terms of if you could do something else apart from running ESB, what would it be? But I guess that segues into.
Would I ever go back into law? This is a tough one. If I ever, ultimately, like weirdly, I actually, from the age of like 14 upwards, I worked in a care home. So I worked as a carer up until about 21, 22. I always did care work part-time. And I've always wanted to run my own care home. That's my ultimate dream, to have a care home. So that would be where I would like to end up. Would I ever go into law? The one thing that's always put me off about law, I hate to say it in case any of your listeners are legal, is kind of some of the arrogancy surrounding it, and I don't think it always necessarily sits well with the kind of person I am. But then I do like to argue, and if people know me well, it does sit with the kind of person I am, argumentative, like to be right. So whether I would, maybe there is a possibility. I think if I was to go back into it, would always be on like criminal law, family law, medical law, that kind of side.
I understand you're also a spin instructor on weekends.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So I did my personal training qualification this year, just because I do a lot in the gym, and I thought it would be great to find out a bit more about the science behind it. And then I also quite like coaching people, so I started taking classes on the side, and weirdly enough, I didn't find actually coaching the boot camps as interesting as I thought I would, but I've really enjoyed doing the spin classes. Because it's a bit more like, because you're actually taking the classes, you've got to program the music with it. It's quite fun, like doing the music with it. So yeah, on a Sunday I torture people with like it.
Fun.
So yeah, it is good fun.
You know, a lot of our listeners are most likely in the digital world, so I mean, including myself, I hardly ever do anything outside of the computer. So do you think that somehow sort of motivated you to do something physical, where you're actually doing something practical? And
yeah, because it's just so different. It's so nice to go out of being like looking at a screen, and then actually to move into like a different space of like not having to look at screen, like putting on, I don't like putting on earphones and like programming something that isn't like looking at a screen. Is just such a nice, like, it just feels really nice to do something like completely different.
You've also mentioned that people, like, they're left a sweaty mess once they finish your spin class. Have you always wanted to push yourself and the people around you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
could you tell us a bit more about that?
I always think if you're not challenging people, like if you're not pushing people to the next level, then like people only will plateau. You've got to kind of always, people don't know what they're capable of until you push them to the next level. And so we will always go into a comfort zone, and you've got to kind of prod people to get them out of the comfort zone and find out what they're capable of. And I always like say that to people in the spin class, you can always pull yourself back a bit, but your body doesn't know what it's capable of until you get to the next bit. So there's obviously a point you don't want to walk out of spin class and throw up. Like, that's not the point. But then when you've actually achieved something and you look back and you're like, fuck, I didn't know, like I could do that, and you're so happy and proud of yourself. And like, it's that kind of grit, you've got to get through it and get to that next point and realize like you can achieve that. And like I always say to them, like, visualize what it feels like if you can like get to that point. So like I do a lot in the spin classes of like really, really long sprint sets on hills. So they'll do like 3-minute sprint up a hill and then a 30-second rest, followed by another 3-minute sprints up a hill, which are really long. So it's like basically 6-minute sprints up hills, and people are like, oh no, God, I can't do that. But then I like visualize what it feels like when you get to the end of that. You didn't even think you were capable of that. So when they get to the end of that, they're like, God. And it's like the same in like business. Like it may at the time feel like it's really hard and you don't think you can get through that. But then when you get to the end of it and you look how far you come on, then like next time you get to something like that, you're like, oh geez, like I did it last time, so I can do more than that this time, kind of thing.
So you recently went to a Tony Robbins seminar. So could you tell us a little bit about that? How was it? What was it like?
So we did the business mastery. So day one, like literally, first of all, you arrive there, and if you had never, I'd like listened to all his podcasts. So like, I'd like really, I love his content. Like if you get past like the Americanism of it all, like it is like really, really good content. But I hadn't quite prepared myself when you got in there for the dancing and like that side of it. And I knew this one was really focused on the business, so I kind of didn't think it would be as like mental as like it was. And the days are like from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night, no breaks. Wow. So we like arrived on day one, and they started with like club music and dances. So like you get in there at 9 a.m. and they start like rave music, clubs, like everyone's up and they're like, yeah, got dancers up, and like
I just need some coffee.
Me and Andrew like look around and we're literally like, what? Like people like jumping, like raving, and we're like, what? And they do that for like 15 minutes, and you're like, God. And then you sit down and they're like, okay, the first break today is going to be at 7:30 tonight. And we're like, what? It's like 9 a.m. in the morning. Like, you must be kidding. And then they just go solid to 7:30, and they're blasting in oxygen and like cold air, and you're like, what? But you get through the days and the content is so good, and every like few hours they blast more music in, get you up, they make you massage like the person next to you, high five, hug them. And at first you're like, day one you're like, oh my God, I don't want to dance to music. By day 2, 3, 4 you're literally like, can I have a dance? Because it just gets you back into like, I've been sat down so long. But it's like really, really good content, and they just make you really think about your business in detail, like go through all your numbers, like, and it's really simple stuff, but they just simplify everything, really make you look at your numbers, every section of it, just break everything down, think about like processes. But it's more about helicoptering the bug, but they teach you then how to kind of coach your staff. So it's more about look at every element of your business, negotiation with clients, the value chains, how to price, lead generation, but then how to then go and coach your staff to do it so that you're not actually, you're a business owner rather than an operator. And that was what the real good, because you didn't then feel like overwhelmed, like how am I going to do all of this? You actually realise how do I implement it within my team, which was actually the better part of it. But it's long days.
What was the first thing you implemented as soon as you got back to your desk?
Better quality control, and stop just having emails, so making sure people picked up the phone more. So especially internally, so rather than being like, oh, I sent an email to blah blah to check they had it, just pick up the phone, let's have a call, make sure everyone knows what they're doing. And I've seen days when people are not doing those phone calls and just still emailing, you can see where it starts to break down again. And it's like, no, get on the phone, let's just make sure everyone's clear on what we're doing. Let's have a quick 10-minute phone call. Like, stop these emails, because people say, oh, well, I emailed it I prefer an email. Like, call, then email, because people miss emails, and it's just like 5 minutes, get everyone on the call, like a WhatsApp call where we all get on and just be like, are we all clear that we've got this action, this action, this action? We're all clear. Okay, then at email, this is what we agreed on this call. Send it around.
Cool.
Really cool.
From your experience, so you worked with your dad, then you went traveling, and then you went back. How did it come about in terms of setting up ESB, or like how did you find that journey from going traveling to working on ESB? Could you tell us a bit more about that journey?
Yes, so basically I've always worked with my dad. So Freemax was his performance agency, and so we worked together there, and then esbconnect we joint owned together, and then I'm just in the process of so now I'm the director on that, and in the process of buying him out. And it's been interesting working with your dad. Don't know necessarily if like working with your family is always the best move. So essentially, Freemax was a performance agency, and ESB is a technology platform which does customer acquisition through email. And what we had noticed when we were running Freemax was there was a lot of technology platforms coming about in the display world, and we just saw a gap in the market where email as an acquisition channel was not being utilised as much because people were favouring display technologies because there was a lot of transparency. They were easy to buy because of these new programmatic platforms that were coming about. And we were like, oh, imagine if we created a technology platform which did the same as the display platforms but for email. So we basically were like, should we build a platform? And I'm not a techie, like I'm not a developer, I'm definitely commercial. So Pete was technical, so that's my dad. So he did the technical side, I did the commercial side, and that's how ESB came about. So that's basically the start of it. And then through the lifetime of ESB, we've realised that email as an ID was actually the more powerful part. And that's where we've realised the value more, the kind of programmatic email platform, which most of our business at the moment actually comes from that side, but actually email as an ID going forward we think will be the bigger part of the platform.
Okay.
You can tell us a little bit more about ESB in detail if you want, and then we can go on to things like what clients do you work with?
Yes. What does ESB do?
Cool. So what does ESB do? So essentially we have several different parts of the business. So we've got ESB has customer acquisition. So we essentially drive customer acquisition through emails for let me start again. So we essentially use we do customer acquisition for brands through email. So that can be CRM builds. So brands use us as a way of building out their CRM database. So essentially we build them landing pages where we collect email data for them. So we might, for example, for a brand like Reese, they might go, we want to build a bigger email database. So we'll create a competition like win £500 of Reese vouchers, and then we'll drive people to that landing page and collect their email address. And then from there, we'll then nurture that email address down to its first sale. And so the idea there is that most people are driving PPC Facebook to the website, and that click costs £1. And then once that click hits their website, they're then going to have to pay Google, Facebook repeatedly to get that click back to their website if it doesn't convert. Whereas an email address roughly costs the same, but once it's in your database, it lasts 2 years on average. So the idea of that product is that it basically builds your CRM database, but we make sure that it converts to a sale. So it's basically giving the same value to them by building their CRM database, but making sure it converts to a sale. So that's one product. Or for other brands like Clark's and people like that, we basically work with them to drive more sales. So essentially create email audiences for them. So women interested in shoes, and basically send out email campaigns to our database. We've got about 15 million consumers.
Wow.
And run email campaigns across a month and target them and drive people to their website on a performance basis or on a fixed cost basis and get them to convert.
Cool.
So yeah.
And what kind of clients do you work with?
Predominantly retail, travel, finance. Mainly like well-known brands, but we can work with big and small clients. Did a campaign yesterday for a mobility scooter client.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so
yeah.
we've got a lot of over 50s data. So yeah, it can be, even though we do work with like well-known brands like Debenhams or like Ted Baker, FitFlop, we also work with some really random niche clients. So it's about finding like the data within our data sets. We've got like 300 data points. So people can come to us and like we'll see if we can work with the data to find the right target audience for them.
Yeah. So this is a bit of like a jump back, but how did you win your first client over? Or how did you secure that?
Oh, we actually, because I'd been in the industry for quite a long time, a lot of it came through like recommendations. So even now, like people will randomly ring because not many people do email. Look, that's the wrong. Not many people do no email as an acquisition channel. So people will often just get in contact and be like, "You're one of the few people that know email as an acquisition channel." So it was through recommendations. I've always worked quite closely with the DMA, so I've always been on the email account. So I used to do, I'm not very good at it at the moment, but I used to do a lot of blogging, a lot of talks. So I used to do loads of speaking. So a lot of it was around like public profile, which I've got really bad at recently.
Well, this is a public profile.
Yeah, there you go. You got me back on track. Yeah.
We will have at least 5 downloads from my family alone. In terms of like, you know, ESB, how do you go about selling your services, and what's your most best, or you know,
Popular?
what channel? Yeah, what's the most popular channel in terms of how you get your sales through?
Oh, so this is again what we're really bad at. Do you know when people always ask you like, how do you market yourself? And you're like, oh, we need. So definitely previously it was always blogging and pushing those blogs out through LinkedIn, and we would just put them out to people like Ad Exchanger, like push them out through PR channels, just see if they would pick up the blogs. And that was by far like the best way. But now events, like going along to events, cold outreach, but really pushing out recommendations. So reach out to clients we work with, and like using our networks.
So where do you see marketing in the industry going in the next 5 years, especially with you seeing as you're in the industry?
Oh, so definitely more personalised. So we've just integrated in a solution where basically we can do one-to-one marketing across all channels. So rather than just using email, you could go, okay, I want a CPA target over here, so a cost per acquisition target of £50, and I don't care what channel I use, but I only want to hit that person like 5 times across all those channels. And I think that's what people get to. It won't be about like the channels, it'll be about, I want to hit a CPA goal, I don't want to over market to them. I don't care what devices they're using, like just hit that goal. I feel like channel marketing will disappear because consumers don't think in channels. like, and consumers think that everything should be personalised. So they expect at the moment that a brand should know who they are. Like, so they expect when they pick up their phone, their brand should recognise who they are when they pick up that phone, when they open their laptop, and they don't understand that a brand might not know that they're not the same person. So I think it will change in the sense of when people are media planning, they won't go, I want to buy some social and I want to buy some display and I want to buy some TV. It would be like, here's my budget and I want to buy this creative strategy and this is my goal I want to hit, if that makes sense. I mean, I find it archaic that we're even kind of still talking in channels, because the technology is really pretty much there that we don't need to talk in channels. But I feel like maybe the agencies don't want to really adopt the technology.
It's how they label their invoices in terms of, it's easy to understand, this is what we do, rather than, you know, like, it's, of course, it's all in favour of the company rather than the customer who actually gets their wallet out and actually purchases. So, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So other than that, how do you yourself keep up with changes in the field?
Oh, definitely, like, just reading like different articles online, like, so, and this is like something I actually went back to Flipboard. I hadn't like downloaded it for like ages, and I was getting so many different apps, and like, I don't think LinkedIn is as good. Like, people put so much crap up there now, like, and so finding like the best content hub. Like e-consultancy followed that, the Drum, and I was trying to find like what are the best like sources of content now, and I weirdly have found like going back to Flipboard as an app is actually quite a good app. Like, I hadn't looked at it for like ages, but it does curate all the content quite well, like following all the different things. So found that, but yeah, basically just signing up to good emails,
Your seminars and talks.
Seminars, following people on LinkedIn, but yeah, just all the normal, like, not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter.
Yeah, we have our own theory about Twitter, but I don't want to go into that. In terms of, like, let's say you were to start ESB all over again, or you were to set up something new from scratch, what's the first thing you'd do to market yourself?
Oh, that's interesting.
In 2019.
In 2019. First thing to do to market yourself in 2019. I think I would set up a really, really good conference and networking event. Because I don't think there's, especially in the marketing industry though, it's crying out for a really, really good networking event with good content. I don't know if I would even necessarily charge for that event, but really good speakers, really, really good networking. Because there used to be so many good networking events. If you went back into the industry like 5-6 years ago, and I don't think there is, like, there was like maybe like festival marketing was quite good, but even now I don't know how good that one is. Like, I can't name any really good shows in the UK conferences that are that great. I know like Mexico's meant to be great, but I didn't overly rate it when I went.
A few of my friends have been for the last 2 years in a row, and they've just said it's just so salesy that you know, like, everyone who's speaking has actually paid to be on the stage.
Yeah, and paid so much. Like, I think I would try and like put on a really, really quality event.
And have that be
Because I guess it's all about the people.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that your first customer came from word of mouth, and also the fact that people knew you in the industry, so you'd capitalize on that.
Yeah, and or even if it was like a series of like good events that you kind of had your name behind, but it wasn't necessarily promoting you, but then people got to know you through that.
Yeah.
I think I would do something along that line.
Okay.
Well, let's say we're jumping a bit into the future now, and you've obviously established yourself. What are your top tips for digital marketing, if you have any, or if you'd like to share with us?
Top tips for digital, for brands or for just
in general, whatever tips.
So let's say a friend of yours was to start a new company, and they would say, "Oh, Susie, what should I do first? What's the first 3 things I should do?"
Yeah, what's the first 3 things?
Forget about website, videos, podcast. Just the first thing that they should do
in digital marketing. Okay. Top tips. So
Susie doesn't want to share.
No, I mean like it's so if they require, is it like from like a customer acquisition or?
So they're like, "Look, Susie, I've invested all my money into this new business, and I need some." They're starting from scratch, and they've said to you, "What should I do? How should I market myself?"
How do I market myself? Okay. Oh, this is a good question. I wasn't sure whether you meant from like a business setup point, because I would have like, if you were setting up a business, I'd be like, get a very good financial director. That would be my like first point on that side. How do you market yourself? Okay. On a B2B side, my top tip would find a really good channel partner. So have someone think about businesses who have customers that you want to go after who's already established, and see if you can set up a partnership, because that will cut down your cost of sales and cost of acquisition. So see, like we're just establishing some different channel partnerships who can do the sales for us, and then we can do the campaign management. So if you can have like 3 or 4 different channel partnerships, that will massively cut down your costs, and then you can service them. So I would make a list of like 10 people that have your customers that you want to go after, and then see how you can establish relationships with them, and then either set up referral agreements that are attractive for them, and work out how you can work with them. So that would be the number 1 thing I would do in setting up. So number 1, channel partnerships. Number 2, I would definitely look at what your proposition is to your client and your presentation. And I'm not a massive, when people are asking like for decks and like, you have to have a deck, don't get me wrong, but when people like send me over your media pack, I always think if people are asking for your media pack like before having a meeting, it's normally a little bit of a brush off, like get a meeting. Like if someone's asking for your media pack before your meeting, they're not really that interested, get your face to face. But then when you're presenting your media pack, just make sure it's not your features and benefits, like what problem are you solving for them, and like look at like the whole like challenger sell. So have a think in your presentation, like really like what is it that's unique about your proposition, and really what's different about you in the market, what real problem are you solving that someone else isn't. So if you're in a competitive market, think about something really different about your product that they'll be like, oh crap, or a real problem that they maybe haven't even realised they have, that you bring to their attention, and that they're suddenly like, oh my god, like unless we have your product, like shit, we're like fucked without it, kind of thing.
Nice.
Third thing, get a really slick sales process. Make sure, like, don't set goals, set measurements, and make sure you're really on your measurements. Like measure everything. and those processes.
Could you tell us a bit more about like some of your things that you measure within your company?
I mean, I don't even think I'm like there with my measurements. But I mean, like, okay, so say you had like a revenue goal of, say you like walked in, you're like, I'm gonna hit £1 million in my first year. Like, if that's your goal, think realistically, how on earth are you gonna get there? And you've really got to break that down. So if you're going to hit £1 million, how much revenue is that in a month? And then think about, okay, how much revenue in a month? How much is that? How many customers? So how much does the average order value need to be? And then how much, how many sales then do I need to make in a month? To then how many proposals do I need out, to how many meetings do I need to have, to how many outreaches do I need to have, and how many like outreaches, what type of outreaches do they need to be, like e.g. like phone calls, LinkedIn outreaches, email outreaches, and like really get into the granularity of those numbers and literally put them in a spreadsheet and see how you can tweak those numbers to improve them. And that's like how granular you need to get, and you need to like measure them, right?
Some great advice. Yep.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, so this one now is a little bit different. Can we say, what is the best advice or lesson you've ever received in your life?
Best advice, lesson. So, actually at the Festival of Marketing, I watched the astronaut, you know, the one that did, I can't remember what his name is, that did the best video song video from space.
Commander something.
He was a really good, like, interesting speaker. He actually said you should always visualize failure. Because if you visualize how you fail, you can plan for success. Yeah.
Wow.
So if you can always work out, if you can visualize how you're failing, then you can work out how to succeed. Because people who only plan for success will fail, and because they
don't have any
backup plans. And I was like, that's so true. Like, if you never thinking about there's a possibility
that something
can go wrong, then you will never expect it, and then you panic when something goes wrong. You're like, oh, what am I going to do? So that's probably one of the like best pieces of advice. And like you hear about a lot of sports stars that when the sports stars that have a massive failure then actually go on to win loads and loads and loads of like gold medals afterwards, and they always say like it was actually failing that actually made me go on to win all these gold medals, because from then onwards I wasn't scared of failing, because then I visualised that feeling of failing and realised, okay, I got a plan for that and that might happen, and then actually, whereas I was so confident of winning, I never thought I could fail, so I never planned for that possibility of happening.
How can someone get in touch with you?
They can email me on schaplin, so SCHAPLIN @esbconnect.com.
And website as well.
Oh, www.esbconnect.com.
Perfect.
Cool.
Great.
You're quite well known for playing pranks on people. What's the best prank you've pulled off on someone, or someone has played on you?
Oh, that's a good one.
The best prank actually ever played, so Piers, who you know. So once we shared an office with we went to the Dexter, another guy who's in the industry, and he left out, he was like, I haven't done my expenses in ages, and he left out about £3,000 worth of expense receipts on his desk, and he was like, going to do them all tomorrow. I've got £3,000 worth of expense receipts. So he went home and left them all on his desk. So we hid them in a drawer and locked the drawer. And then he came into work in the morning at 7 a.m. And I got into the office at 8:30, and he was like, we're in a Regis at this point, and he was like, Sue's like, it's really bad. The cleaner has been my receipts, and I've been in since 7, and I've basically looked everywhere. Have you seen them? And I'm like, oh no, I haven't seen them. No, I haven't seen them. Are you sure you left them out? And he's like, I'm positive. Are you definitely sure you haven't seen them? I was like, no, definitely not. And he was like, well, I've been downstairs and I got them to call the cleaner, and the cleaner is obviously home, but I've made him come back in. Oh, no. And currently the cleaner's going through the bin. I was like, oh no, you got the cleaner to come in. So I'm texting like another guy in our office being like, he's got the cleaner in. Oh my God. And he's like, made the cleaner come in off his shift. And then he's like, no. I'm like, do we admit that like we've hidden the receipt? So then I'm like, oh my God, this is so awkward. I'm like, can you hurry up and get in? So then the other guy comes in. So we're like looking around the office, and then we like unlock this drawer, and then we're like, oh, the receipt. Oh, what's this? And then he like comes running over. He's like, he's like, I must have left them in here. So we eventually admit that we hid them. Oh no. And then he marched me downstairs to tell the cleaner that I had hid them. And I was like, I'm sorry. It was a good prank up until the fact that he got the cleaner in. We didn't expect that one too.
He went all out for
it. Yeah. At least wait till 9 o'clock until we got in and double check. Don't get him in at 7 in the morning.
Needed to get him in.
So the next segment is just really designed to get to know you better. We're going to ask you a few rapid fire questions, and please tell us the first thing that comes to your head.
Cool.
Would you rather have a vacation by the beach or in the city?
By the beach.
Okay, that's a good one. Card or cash?
Card.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Morning, noon, evening?
Morning.
Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi.
Really? Okay. Fair enough.
Actually, I probably would pick a Coke up, but I actually do think Pepsi tastes better.
Okay, that's alright, that's fine. What's your favourite TV show of all time?
Sex and the City, probably.
That's a good one, yeah.
Classic.
Which Friends character would you be?
Rachel.
Yeah, I think we all. Favourite movie?
Oh.
That's quite a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay, we can come back to that one if you want to think about it. Who would you play in a film?
Who would play you?
Yeah, who would play you in a film? Sorry.
Oh, who would play me in a film? Someone funny.
Someone funny. Okay, I like that. That's all right. We can come back to that one too.
Come back to that one.
What's your favorite place you've ever been to, travel to, or just?
A favorite place I've ever been to? Oh God. I think Bali would be up there as one of my favorite places. Yeah.
Definitely would love to go there. What is the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
I have had tarantula. I have that.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was weird.
That's very interesting. That is very interesting.
Tarantula with the hair and everything.
Oh yeah, it was actually at a Mindshare event, the future of food, talk,
gosh.
and yeah, it was slightly strange.
What did it taste like?
I can't even remember what it tasted like because it just so freaked me out, the hairy legs. Ugh. It wasn't for me.
Ooh, what is your biggest addiction?
Oh, probably the gym.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Humble brag.
Yeah. What is the most interesting thing you own?
Interesting thing I own? Oh. That's a hard one to answer. Interesting thing I own.
It could be a piece of art or something that you've kept since high
You were a
school.
kid, yeah. I'm just gonna bump in and say that the little noises in the background are from our second guest, Dexter, who's a little dog here.
He's currently trying to eat the carpet.
I
Most
know.
interesting thing I own.
That is quite a hard one.
I don't feel like I own anything that interesting. Don't own any interest in art.
You have some interesting dog toys.
Yeah. My cat, is he allowed to be interested?
Cats are very interesting. They're very, very unique animals. What was the most spontaneous thing you've ever done? This podcast.
Yeah, I feel like I've done some really spontaneous. In Vietnam, actually, we once just met some people in the bar where we were travelling, and then randomly they were going on a motorbike tour off the back of that Top Gear. When Top Gear did that thing across. And we then went and bought motorbike helmets and then rode with them, nearly rode with them. We went and got motorbike helmets, and then the next morning we're like, hi, we're doing this with you. And then we all realised that was probably a really stupid idea, that we met drunk in the bar and then decided against it. Again.
That's all right.
Interesting story.
Okay, it's a bit odd. What's your favourite cheese, if you have one?
Oh, I do love cheese. Oh, what would be... Mozzarella would have to be up there as one of the best. A bit then
It's a good melting cheese.
Yeah, and a good goat's cheese. But anything with truffle in, a good truffle through the middle.
That's very good. Yep, I think that's one. Okay, in one sentence, how would you sum up the internet?
In one sentence, how would you sum up the internet? Endless possibilities.
That is very true. I'd say just shopping, online shopping. What is your spirit animal?
A dolphin.
That's quite nice, yeah. Dolphins are the smartest animals on the ocean, aren't they? I think. Them and octopuses.
Octopuses.
Octopus, yeah. Is that the I don't know.
I think social, like to travel.
Yeah. Okay, this is a bit weird. This should be the last question.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have no teeth or no fingernails?
Oh, definitely no fingernails.
Would you though? Okay. But I mean, if you think about it, you can always get dentures.
Yeah, but you can...
Get your fake nails.
Yeah.
But not
And then also, you could just paint your nail beds, but your teeth. Your teeth.
I suppose so.
Teeth has multiple uses.
Yeah, you could live without fingernails.
Yeah, I suppose you could. I suppose you could.
Ammo upstairs, no toenails.
She doesn't know that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Susie, for joining us in this
It
podcast.
was a great chat.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
Get to know you and your company better. We wish you all the best, and hopefully lots of people will be listening and getting in contact with you.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. And that's a wrap. Be sure to check out some of our other episodes.
Thanks for listening.